Hey, Jack. All right. You got this stuff?
Yeah. All cleaned in oil.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Let's get it on.
Who are these guys?
It's my theme music. Every good hero should have some.
Live from Springfield, Missouri, the one, the only, he's Bud Green. What? Oh, yeah. Get ready, everybody.
Excuse me, can I get a cup of coffee? Black? Can't you see we talking? White?
Good morning, everybody. Well, it's another Thursday and another week of excitement. You know, this has been a little more excitement than I was expecting for this time of the year, but you know what? I kind of welcome it. You know, with everything that's happened with Disney, George Lucas, the Acolyte trailer, X-Men 97, and then to have the trailer drop for the new Alien film, Alien Romulus, and the trailer for the new Captain America game, 1943, Rise of Hydra. And I gotta say, the thing about fandom, for as long as I've been a part of it, that I love is the fact that people can have these deep discussions and it just be something that is just, you know, to the uninitiated. It's a lot of gobbledygook to them.
Yes,
Seriously, it is. It's gobbledygook. But to the fans, whether they are debating, you know, the finer points of what Tolkien was able to write, or who's a better adventure writer, you know, H.G. Wells or Edgar Rice Burroughs. Oh, Lady Anima, hello to you.
Oh, you're out to trigger her.
What? I'm not here to trigger. Dragon Roos. Good morning.
Hello, Penny.
Penny, lovely Penny. And you know what? That's fine. That's fine. It's not everybody's cup of tea, you know. But I will say this. The lead actress of that film, Alien Romulus, she's from Brad Pitt's hometown.
Missouri, right? Is that where he's from?
He's from Southwest Missouri, from Springfield, Missouri. His mother and brother still live there. His mother and brother still live there.
I know somebody who lives there.
You know somebody that lives there?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? It's also where Kathleen Turner's from. And it's kind of sort of the second, third home to John Goodman. So, yeah, there's quite a few people that are from that area. And Dakota Johnson's dad was born, I'd say, about 20, 30 minutes away from there, give or take.
Sonny Crocker's from Missouri?
Yeah.
Wow.
So he's not from Miami.
I have to say, I was not a fan of anything to do or any of the methods used on Madam Web, but Dakota Johnson, I mean, unless you stand her next to Sydney Sweeney, is going to be the most beautiful woman in any room. And it was nice that she got
I,
her mom's voice. Very, very
I beg,
pleasing speaking voice.
I beg to differ. She's
She's pretty
okay.
good. I mean, she's a 9. Sydney Sweeney's just a 10.
No,
You put anybody
no,
next to Sydney Sweeney, they're gonna look kind of homely.
no, it's not a. We'll talk about that after the
We'll show some
show.
pictures later.
Let me just say this: if we're gonna get into that discussion, you know, I like the fact that those two are part of an ever thankfully growing number of actresses who, in my opinion, get it. They have a very balanced. Yeah.
Here's my question to you.
Yeah.
I said this, and I you know, it seems crazy, but when you think about it, did they put Sydney Sweeney in that movie because they just didn't want her to go be pretty somewhere else, and they're like, we're going to end her right here? Because that was a career-destroying role that she just triumphed by being a good sport.
You know what? I wish I knew the answer to that, because of what you're dealing with. Sony is, I mean, Madam Web is a character that they had been talking about using, I mean, like way back around the time that Andrew Garfield got into his first Amazing Spider-Man film. The plan was to have all of the Spider-Man characters for whom they were going to build up to the point where they could easily have Spider-Man and the Sinister Six.
My belief was always that since it's Kurtzman, by the time the second movie came around, he was just looking to make a Spider-Gwen movie after that. If they had gotten another movie, maybe TASM 3 would have had Garfield. But first of all, people with 2 first names, I have a reservation. He's a good actor, but I feel like that second TASM movie, they're like, all right, we're going to bring Spider-Man down real low, and in the third movie, he's going to like self-delete, and we'll replace him with Spider-Gwen for the rest of the series. Like, that's the Kurtzman move anyway.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of that came a little later. I mean, a lot of what I know about their planning for that is because of what Andre and Tom at Midnight's Edge was able to find out. And they found out that Sony started making plans. And my point was to bring up the fact that they've never changed those plans. Those plans have never been altered. They are going down the list of characters that they had originally decided that they were going to make movies out of. And they've never altered that list. They're still doing it. Okay. So we've already got Venom. We've already got on the way, we have Kraven the Hunter. We have already had Madam Web. We've had more. Yeah. I mean, and it's a mixed bag.
I call it the Venom verse because they rented Spider-Man out to Disney for so long that like this Spider-Man Spider-Verse, like it's kind of not well named.
You know what? You can call it whatever you like, but according to them, this is still all part of the Spider-Verse, because
I'm not going to call it profitable.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's not profitable. I mean, they've made some money, but that's mainly because of that's really because of the Venom movies. If you're really honest about how all of these films have done up to now, the only thing that's worked are the Venom films.
Well, we're not going to count the Raimi trilogy, right? That's its own thing, and it did.
No. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not counting any of the Spider-Man,
right?
Those actual Spider-Man films.
What we're talking about the milieu of Spider-Man, his web of companions, so to speak.
Yeah, Sony wants to build out his entire universe, and then their original plan was to allow Disney and the MCU to borrow Spider-Man until such time as that they built out the entire Spider-Man universe and then take him back.
So their plan was, let's loan our car to a drunk, and then tomorrow they'll bring it back. It'll be like even better than before.
Oh,
I mean, they have not done well by Spider-Man.
But that's the thing. They are partially responsible for some of the things that happened in the MCU. For instance, their plan was that they wanted to make Spider-Man movies that the fans would love, right? So what they did was they sabotaged the MCU.
Wait, I think I know you're going to say here, and by the way, it's well sourced with Tom and Andre. So I mean, that does sound to be true. That makes sense. But so what the hell did they do to get themselves in this position?
Well, they don't have any comic book fans. Tom Rothman is not a comic book guy. He wasn't a comic book guy when he was over at Fox. He's still not he does not think anything of these movies at all. And again, for someone to have the nads to remove money from a film that has already been allocated for their budget because he thought they wouldn't need it and gave it to another movie. And that's which is what he did with X-Men. The very first X-Men movie, he took part of their money. And that's the reason why the climactic battle scene on top of the Statue of Liberty. Part of it doesn't look very good. They use it's an early use of technically CGI. You have a fully CGI sequence in that part of the movie. Well, it doesn't look that good.
Is that when Storm kills Toad?
No, that's
that didn't
Wolverine.
Look very good either.
Wolverine. It's the Wolverine sequence. The scene where he gets blasted off and he uses his claws to dig into the Statue of Liberty and swing around and jump back up.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember it looking fake in the movie theater, but I was like, I felt like this movie has earned, like, throwing one in high and tight. I'll allow it. Like, I was like the judge from the Tyson fight. It's like, I'll allow it.
Yeah, but here's the thing. They were embarrassed. I was embarrassed as a fan because that meant that DC still had the best use of a CGI character in a way that nobody noticed, which is the reason why you would do something like that. You're not supposed to notice it. It's not supposed to stick out. They still have the best use of a CGI character that nobody notices. And that was in the movie Batman Forever.
Isn't it strange how that's no longer, by any long stretch of the imagination, the worst Batman movie or the worst Batman story or the worst Batsuit? It's you know what, Keith? When Hollywood sends us their Batman, just to quote another person from Queens, they're not sending us their best anymore. They're not sending us Adam West. They're not sending us Michael Keaton. They're sending us their leftovers. We're getting Brits. We got Team Edward as Batman now. They're not sending the quality Batman. They even have tried recycling. It's a scam. George Clooney. I didn't like him the first time. I'm not going to like it again. We got to get this Batman stuff together. Make Batman an American again.
I think for my taste, I really liked Ben Affleck a lot because the thing that I really enjoyed about how for better or for worse, the thing that I enjoyed about what Zack Snyder was able to put together, and part of the reason why I enjoyed why he cast Ben Affleck, is that he was wanting a Batman that was the amalgamation of everything that character was up to that point.
But acted like the Punisher all the time. Only acted like the Punisher.
Well, I mean, he was acting more. He wanted him to act more like the Batman that we had in The Dark Knight Returns. But
he's
what
supposed to
you
be the
got,
Nightmare Universe Batman, the way he acts, and we go to the Nightmare Realm so many times for like 10 seconds to find out
yeah,
that our Superman in the Snyderverse is the least admirable, most dangerous Superman ever. He's a ticking time bomb. When Lois dies, be it from old age or anything else, he's going to blame all of humanity and he's going to suppress us all and become Super Hilter.
well,
That was the way
be that as it may.
took out. Every time we went to Zack Snyder's future, it was that future. Batman was always having nightmares about it, but I felt bad for Affleck, and we said this before. If only Affleck had written it or written and directed one of these Batman stories, we might have gotten one of the best 2 or 3 Batman movies ever. It might stand in there with Batman '89.
Well, that's what I was getting to. I think part of the reason why Snyder hired Ben Affleck is that Ben was not only a fan, Ben had all of the qualities, the best qualities that one would want up to that point if you were going to have a Batman that was meant to represent all the different versions of the character up to that point. Now, some people are distracted by how they used him in a lot of action sequences, the violence, and okay, that's fine. But he was also the Batman who represented and was able to recreate some of the moves that a lot of younger fans enjoyed in the Arkham games. Yeah. He was also the Batman who he is.
This old man loved those games too. I love the Batman Arkham game. To actually play as Batman by the second game when it was really good playing, I played that game a lot, and I play the rooftop fight against the Penguins guys all the time. That's my favorite Rumble.
And then, but also he also had moments where he was the living physical embodiment of the way that the character was drawn for Batman the Animated Series. He had the smirk down. He had the smirk down. Yes, and he having him beef up for Batman v Superman played into the whole Batman the Animated Series portion. And so I like the fact that we had all of these little things that if you're a longtime Batman fan, you noticed all of that. You knew what you were getting. The problem was that Ben Affleck trusted the wrong person. And when I say that, I'm not talking. Wait. I'm not talking about Zack Snyder when I say that. I'm talking about somebody who was always going off about how close they were to Ben Affleck at that time, trying to, quote unquote, air quotes, help them through their difficult time.
Oh, I feel this coming.
And didn't actually help the guy. In my opinion, I think he hurt him. And that led to a lot of the issues that allowed him to eventually just walk away from everything.
Would this person be Silent Bob?
No.
Someone who is even more misguided about their comic book beliefs is in Ben Affleck's orbit. Oh God!
No. They are no longer in his orbit, but they were around him a lot during that particular moment in time because they were running the DC universe.
What's their name or alias, if you would? Oh, okay, all right. Now I know what you mean. All right.
Yeah, somebody who technically should have everything necessary to be a very good custodian of the DC universe, especially given how many fans they had, and that was Jeff Johns. And Jeff Johns, in my opinion, my personal view, sabotaged a majority of things that went on during that period. Not just Justice League. I think he sabotaged Ben Affleck. Because what a lot of people don't know is that around when Warner Brothers was looking to start the Batman films again, they had all of these submissions of scripts. They got all these scripts from different people giving their own take about how to do a Batman movie. And one of those scripts was Batman Begins, which is the script they went with. Well, one of the scripts that ended, it was in their top mix, was a script by Jeff Johns. Would you like to know what the name of that script was? The Batman.
So you're saying that story somehow made it to the screen?
Jeff Johns supposedly worked, air quotes, with Ben Affleck on his The Batman script.
Gotcha.
And I will say this. Everyone who has actually read Ben Affleck's script fell all over themselves praising it. I mean, even people who are diehard fans of Tim Burton's Batman who have read that said, this is exactly what we have been praying for. This is it. This is what every...
Keith.
No. I'm telling you.
They messed that up. They had a good script.
And what happened was that Ben, this all ties into what Ben had going on, even though they kept filming on Justice League. When Warner Brothers and Kevin Sujihara screwed up how they did that movie and brought in Joss Whedon, it screwed up all the other actors because you only had a set amount of time. When you're making a movie, everybody has to coordinate their schedules to go do it. Ben had another movie that he was making for Warner Brothers that he wanted to direct. And coming back to actually do more filming on Justice League messed up his schedule. That plus the fact that his marriage is falling apart.
Right.
And so
Affleck was that was the end of that. In fact, didn't he say that the strain of the constantly changing Batman, and he didn't know for like 4 years when he was going to have 5 days off in a row to be able to hang out with his family, something like that.
It was
wanted
to
be Batman.
It was to the point where he started back on some bad habits, started drinking again. The whole weight gain thing. That's what a lot of people noticed from the Justice League version of the film. If you notice, he's not in such great shape.
No,
because
not at all.
But
my favorite scene of their entire journey, though, is when Wonder Woman sort of helps Batman like unmess up his shoulder, and he has a conversation where he's like, I do this because I care. I care about all these people, and I care about everyone on my team. And if anyone gets hurt, man, it's on me. And that's not in the Snyder cut. So anyone, I find that like there's a lot of cross-pollination. Once you've seen both, it's hard to remember which one you saw it in. And really, like Ray Fisher has a legit beef. Like we should have just made an origin tale for that character and then done Justice League next. That was too much to do for one movie.
Yeah,
but it was nice to see Miles Dyson, right? It was nice to see him.
But that's how Warner Brothers set it up. Again, I often tell people, you can be as mad as you want to be at Zack Snyder. Be mad, but understand that if you're going to be mad, you should at least be truthful about what his participation in all of that actually was. The thing that Warner Brothers kept wanting to do behind the scenes versus how things were talked about to the general public and how fans perceived it are three very different things. They kept using the whole Kevin Feige thing. You got to understand something. Kevin Feige's job with the MCU is completely different than what Jeff Johns was doing, and definitely from what Zack Snyder was doing. Zack Snyder was never, ever in charge of anything. Ever. He never had that power. He never had the power to decide or dictate how much money they were going to spend for a movie. And again, I get it. He's not a lot of everybody's cup of tea. But what I'm wanting you to do is focus on what I am saying. Okay? A lot of us were led down the path to... we were manipulated into thinking a certain way and not really understanding exactly what we were actually seeing, which is a studio that wanted to give the illusion of what Disney was giving Marvel. Warner Brothers never, ever, ever intended, at least under Kevin Sujihara and the people that were running it before Zaslav got there, they were never, ever intending to have anyone be the true head of DC Films. what they were wanting to do was to continue to create the same way they had always done everything. All your movies are headed under a particular movie wing. All your television goes to television, all your animation under your animation division. Now, originally, it was said that DC actually had everything, but the reality was that that person still had to answer to someone in the hierarchy of Warner Brothers who was able to basically tell them what to do. That is completely different than what Kevin Feige had. Because ultimately, Feige only had really one boss, technically two. He still had to answer to Alan Horn. But in reality, because Bob Iger had that whole thing about allowing the creatives to do whatever they wanted to do, just throw money at the problem, Kevin Feige had a lot more power and technically money to do whatever he wanted to do. Warner Brothers never gave anybody that kind of power. And on top of that, the powers that be at Warner Brothers, they didn't like Zack Snyder. So they weren't interested in anything he was really trying to do. They were wanting him to make a certain number of movies and to get them into the game. But they had no intention of allowing him to run it. Ever.
They were going to shortcut their way to the point that Marvel was at all costs, which is part of why I guess BVS is plot spaghetti. And I just really quickly, I just want to ask you, do you think the sabotage of Snyder and that stuff, was that ineptitude? Was it bad-heartedness? Or did they just have an agenda? Or was he scaring them? Why do you think they did it?
They sabotaged it because they didn't care. It's something that has been talked about a lot. You know, this whole thing where you have executives spending a lot of money and you're getting to the point where you have executives and others basically who aren't even reading scripts anymore. You know, the thing with Zack Snyder was because it was Zack Snyder, because he was not the person who they originally wanted, they took every opportunity to send people to look over his shoulder. He had more people connected to the board and to the president looking over his shoulder for everything that he did than anybody I've ever read about. And so
Perception
for him,
became reality. Perception became reality. I like from what we got, like I'm trying to think of this as like there are no movies and this is his situation, but I can't get past like that the movies were just so bad. And I'm like, maybe I would watch Zack Snyder too. And like, wow, maybe these movies might have been worse.
well, but that's the thing is that there was a plan and there was a way of going. And Zack Snyder's job within that was to, if you wanted to compare him to somebody, Zack Snyder was treated the same way that Joss Whedon was within the MCU. There was a period of time when Joss Whedon really was the guy. And that was
Paramount.
That was between the start of production of the first Avengers film all the way to the end of production on Avengers Age of Ultron. And between those two films, Joss Whedon was really running a lot of their films and story stuff because he had to make everything connect to the very next Avengers film. So all of the filmmakers that were making movies between those two movies had to check in with Joss to make sure or to see if they could add something, you know, to create all of the threads that would eventually lead you to Age of Ultron.
He did a good job, like you said. Those were quality movies. The Marvel humor wasn't insipid yet. He was able to do it. He could mix action and humor very well. And you know, his stories, they made sense. You didn't need to watch them twice. In fact, with Joss Whedon, I find the second time you watch the movie, like, that was more logical than I had noticed. So what he does is he's really good at the subtleties of filmmaking. And you know, I do feel like they set up an impossible situation. It's like, hey guys, meet the new boss, not like the old boss. He's here to fire you, but first we're going to work for a little while longer. That's no way to finish a movie. That had to be a miserable experience for all involved.
the
I'm
only
not saying
person that
Snyder's
was
all that cool either. I'm saying,
yeah.
right.
Look,
We all know he's on
I've
Reach
said
Island for a reason.
I've said this with Gerry many times. I've said this on other shows. I do not absolve Snyder from anything. Okay, he took the check. He cashed the check. He knew what he was working with. My only thing about Zack Snyder is that you cannot make him 50% the 50% of the problem. He wasn't. If I were to basically meter out a percentage, I'd say Zack Snyder was 25% at fault. All the rest of it, that's Warner Brothers. And that's the various people at Warner Brothers who were still playing their own version of Game of Thrones within the hierarchy. And that's the mess that David Zaslav came in and undid just by firing people. Because they had gotten.
That's how your franchise dies, to thunderous applause.
Yeah, it was just get rid of all the people causing all the drama.
Nice.
Yeah. You know what? We have gone deep on this one. So let's withdraw
we have a series of topics to cover.
Yes,
right.
But however, I'm gonna even derail myself because remember this is ADD Theater, and Monkey Jeebus just brought this into the arena.
Yeah.
11 billion.
Do you know who the buyer is? Why doesn't Nelson Peltz get that? He'll fix that right up. He can buy that with what he's got on him. It's like, I'll take Paramount for the hell of it and give me Warner Brothers on the side.
Well, now that's the thing I need to understand. Monkey Jeebus, is this an offer made for Paramount, or is this the offer made for the shares? That's a different thing. Because
it's certainly not Star Trek alone. It's certainly
this is not Star Trek alone.
That is Star Wars money.
If you're making the offer for the shares for Sherry Redstone, I'm pretty sure she'll give it to whoever made the offer, and you won't have to worry about the government doing anything because you're buying shares to gain control. Okay, but if this is an offer for Paramount as a whole, okay, depends on who made the offer. I mean, I can definitely tell you. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised with anybody making that kind of an offer. Paramount has a lot of really good things going for it. It's just being run by people who are running it into the ground. And it's a mess, more than anything else. Let's see, Apollo Global for Paramount Film and TV. Oh, okay. Never heard of those guys. But you know what? If I had the money, I'd offer 11 billion one.
We had our chance to buy the CW with just the money we have in our pocket right now, and we blew it. I mean, I would have paid $5 for the CW and just been generous, 500% more. But quite honestly, you couldn't be more right. And I got to be honest. Aside from New Trek, which we'll be talking about that when it drops next week, but aside from New Trek, I don't know who else has Paramount Plus. Wow. A lot of it's pretty good.
Yes.
The Taylor Sheridan shows. By the time he gets to Bass Reeves, they may have asked for one too many shows and too brief a time, because Bass Reeves is very, very good. But we've seen every part of that story before played out in other Taylor Sheridan shows if you watched a lot of it. It starts out formulaically like 1923. It's still not bad. It's just very formulaic.
Go ahead and put that back up, Martin, what Wolverine had said.
Which one? Oh,
that one. Okay, so it's no CBS, of course, no cable channels, no Paramount Plus. Okay, so they're going straight at Paramount. Look, that's smart. That is real smart.
I thought those were John Lennon lyrics. Imagine there's no Star Trek. Imagine there's no New Trek.
Oh, geez.
Imagine there's no JJ. It's easy if you tried.
Let me just say, Ariel Ball. Hey, hello. And we are doing well this fine morning.
Hi, Ariel Balway. We didn't
just
get around
Paramount Film and TV Studios. I wonder if they're going to make any attempt to try to at least get any of the vault.
Or if it's just flat out. could you imagine if someone's just buying it for memes at this point? It's like, we're going to buy the entire Paramount catalog. We're never releasing a movie. We bought it all for them to make memes.
Well, you know, again, the last we heard, it was looking like Kurtzman was dealing with the reality of what's happening, and that he's decided to be bought out from doing any future work with Star Trek. And if that's true, more power to these people. I'm serious. I've reached a point where it's anybody but Kurtzman and the current people in charge of Paramount. They're all idiots. I can see why Sherry Redstone is done. You know, these jokers have completely ruined an entire studio because, and there's no reason for it. Paramount could be competing at a high level if not for a lot of their bad decisions. So,
New Trek being the leading one. It's a money drain. You know, New Trek that's like giving your network at this point, giving your streaming service, like New Trek. It's just like, maybe, you know, it's like if it was your child, it would be like, my kid has trouble getting up in the morning. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make him drink 25 Red Bulls. And it's just like, he's going to crash by noon.
Wolverine, that's a good question. That is a good question. If they're just buying Paramount, look, I look at it this way. If you're just buying Paramount, and let's just say you're buying Paramount for $11 billion, but it's not including any of its IPs or any of the stuff that's in their vaults, that's a little high.
It's also a lot of work. That's like saying, like, I'm going to take the Johnny Cash approach. I've always wanted the 1968 Charger. I'm going to buy it one piece at a time and build it in my driveway. I'm not going to start out with 85, even half the car. I'm just like, I'm ordering door handles and I'm working my way in from there.
Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, I'm not saying they can't do it, but what you're talking about in that case then is allowing CBS just to keep everything. Oh, of course. I know, Harry. I know. I need to be corrected. I need to be re-educated and learn the error of my ways so I can go out and get what I need to get from all the oppressors who have kept me down all these years.
So Keith and I work together with Martin after every show. I'm half Latino, and Martin, of course, is pretty much completely Latino. And Keith, we're told is black. I've only seen his avatar, but we've had discussions about how we could all like it's the after work discussion every week. We need to do better, Senator. That's what we call our catch-up meetings. Can I ask you one quick question about Affleck as Batman? Because this is just like, I don't want to re-rabbit hole this, but just quick. One problem I had processing him was that I had accepted him because we'd seen him in the outfit a few times in a movie called Hollywoodland. I more heavily associated him with Superman, where he gave a brilliant performance in a really good movie.
Yes.
But he's not Superman, but he's Superman. He's George Reeves as Superman, so he gets to walk around in the Superman outfit. And it's just like, when you see him, they still change the outfit enough, but you're like, wow, he would have made an amazing Superman. And then somehow Diane Lane goes from being his girlfriend to being his friend's mom. And then we have time hop forward to Batman versus Superman. And just real quickly, do you think that maybe Zach ineptly applied politics to the movie? For instance, he's expressed a strong interest in making an Ayn Rand Fountainhead movie, which, thank God, because I don't think he understands it. But is that why Superman never saves anybody? We never see him save anyone but Lois. We see 12 people saved. It's Lois 12 for 12. He's Super Stalker. But, everyone else is like the people who painted the Superman logo on their house instead of SOS. Superman, it's implied he saves them. Like, we don't see him like pull a Homelander and blast them with the laser vision or anything. He wouldn't do that. But we just see him hovering there, and he's impassive. He's as impassive as a Disney female Star Wars hero as he looks at these people suffering. And Zach, for some reason, he doesn't want to show Superman saving people. And he's recontextualized Superman into an alien among us instead of a human who finds out he's an alien who has to change. Like, Superman, whatever else you want to say about him, he considers himself a human, a person from America.
Yeah.
You know what? He fights for the American way.
Well, again, I'm
And I've totally ruined our conversational train of thought.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
apologize.
Guys,
you know what? Let me
let's move on.
answer that later, and get on to the whole James Bond thing, because I think we could do very well in trying to get this worked out. First and foremost, in case
This is the most optimistic story of the morning, people.
in case nobody has heard, it has been reported by Eon Productions themselves and Barbara Broccoli and her brother that they've made an offer to actor Aaron Taylor Johnson, who you may know from the movie Kick-Ass, or you may know him from Avengers Age of Ultron, to be the next Bond. Let me just say this. I like Aaron Taylor Johnson. He's an incredible actor. He is about the right age. I hear he's 33
Yes.
years old. So he's right there. Okay? He is right where he needs to be. Okay? He could do this for another 10 years. So he's right there.
You could go 20 if you'd only be 53 in 20 years. I mean, I'll be 153 by that time, but like technically, if this guy really works out, right? Like let's say like they're able to kind of get past the bad taste of, and notice how the two first names things keeps creeping up. Daniel Craig, he would be better off just going as, using his wife's last name from now on. He was the most miserable and unhappy Bond. He was good in one movie. Every time we saw him, he was happy until they brought up Bond, and he couldn't apologize enough. He's like, I promise I won't be cool or inspiring in my next role as Bond. It was just like, God, please. It's like when Hollywood send us their Bonds, they're not. It was like, where's Timothy Dalton when you need him? Because he at least cared. But that was the closest to book Bond. I mean, book Bond was impossible by the time we got Dalton. But The Living Daylights is a great movie. As opposed to what came before it. Look at A View to a Kill, and then look at The Living Daylights. You had absolutely slapped the paddles of life to a franchise. So this guy could take it to 53-year-old Bond, would still be somewhat younger than Never Say Never Again Bond, which is not a Broccoli Bond. But let's just remember this: no Americans were considered. Once again, and James Bond movies are made by Americans on location, some of which is filmed in England. This is an American film franchise, and it always has been, except for when I think Never Say It again was European.
Well, they're trying to follow the formula that had been established from previous films, and so I think that make the formula
Craig left
work.
us a way out. But Craig's movies were so much more connected than any other Bonds where we had a loose continuity. His almost dovetail into the next, and it really hurts the last one, which is garbage. But usually it was just like James Bond movies. James Bond would show up, he'd say his lines, and it would just be implied that he was really tough, and we didn't have to I think we bring up one past villain once. I think that Blofeld mentions Dr. No. He's like, you shouldn't have killed my boy, Dr. No. But after that, they never do things like that. Like James Bond is averse to member berries because they are very anti-Bondish. His member berries are just his car, his gun, and his milieu of people. Like we don't go back and be like, this is just like Operation Thunderball. Like we don't say that in Bond movies. You know what I mean? We don't nail one Bond into another.
Well, I think what you have here for this particular Bond, while Aaron Taylor Johnson, if he decides to say yes, and I would like to say, I think one of the other things he's considering, though, is the changes that they're making to the character.
Are they going to make?
See, this is the reason why all of the people whose names were coming up as the last Bond movie was coming out. Every name that you've heard in the past, you don't hear those names anymore. You notice you don't hear from those people wanting to be in those. Hello, Paulie, Latino Slant. Hey.
Right. Celebrity sighting in the chat. Hell, Paulie. Good to see you.
That's it. He is a celebrity. If you're not following Latino Slant, you need to be.
The link will be in the chat in moments.
Paulie is one of those guys who is multi-talented. And I mean that. This guy is a serious player. And if they would only just let him be in charge, I think the entertainment industry would be a much better place. definitely more entertaining. But look, let me just say this. If you are going to take on Bond the way that Eon Productions are wanting to change the character, you need to make some considerations. And I think Aaron Taylor Johnson is probably considering his options right now. Okay. Unlike a lot of other people who have been offered the job, he's now going to have to take a version of Bond that could be rejected by a lot of fans because of the things that they're talking about doing to the character. Now, to anybody that's not a Bond fan, it doesn't sound like it's that much. But if you're a Bond fan, what they're talking about doing to this character is monumental, and changing him in a lot of ways. But then again, the last Daniel Craig movie made a lot of changes anyway. I mean, besides the obvious one, it wasn't just the fact that spoilers for all those who have not seen the last movie. It wasn't the fact that Bond is no longer among us. It's the fact that you had two characters leave us that don't die in the books at all. Technically three, really, who don't die in the books at all.
And a bunch of characters invented for the movies we only wish had died.
Yes. I just think that if you're going to change how Bond has relationships with women, if you're going to change how he views relationships, if you're going to change how he executes his missions, and possibly make him someone that's open to targeting anybody for conquest, that's a little bit of a change. That's a little bit of a change there. Look, that's really something that each individual actor, and in his case, Aaron Taylor Johnson's, that's something that he's going to have to consider. Because if he's actually a fan, you got to change your mindset. If he's worried about fan reaction, you really got to prepare for that. And I will say this, I don't see him as someone who is able to drink the Kool-Aid and be able to turn on fans because it's a convenient excuse if the movie they end up making doesn't work out. And Ariel, that's a good idea. Although I don't think Bond would be the proper one to team up.
Watch The Spy Who Loved Me. His Bond as Clouseau.
I think it would be better to have.
Movie,
I think Clouseau would be a better fit in teaming up with Jason Bourne, though.
I'm just imagining Daniel Craig and Steve Martin. So you got 4 first names on screen, but 2 of them are trustworthy. Steve Martin breaks that trope. Maybe it's because he has Martin's first name as a last name, but Steve Martin, the man with 2 first names that I fully embrace and love. You know what would be funny was that it would be like, the Bond part of the movie really sucked, but you know what? The replacement for Peter Sellers was absolutely excellent, and that part was funny. Like you would get like Only Murders meets Bond. It was like James Bond investigates another murder in the building. It's like the Bond girl could be Selena Gomez. It'd be like, I want to know about your past with Bonnie. Do you still love him?
I've been drawn off again. Let me just wrap up the whole Bond thing by saying this. If they have decided to just go off the reservation a bit and recontextualize Bond, that means that from here on out, we're basically going to be dealing with original stories. Fine, nothing against that. But that means the quality of what you're producing better be good. It better be good. And I'm talking right to EM Productions and Barbara. your writers better be good. You cannot afford to be bad from here this point on. I'm telling you right now, you guys are in a precarious position at this point. I mean, yeah, the Bourne films seemingly have dried up, but that doesn't mean that there aren't others out there who are ready to take that crown if need be. I mean, as of right now, you're lucky because the John Wick franchise is on hiatus. I still think there's another one. I think they're going to do another one. But if this Bond movie fails, if you're running the John Wick franchise, that's an open call that you can now run the table for as long as you want with that character.
I'd like to see them rewind a little of his tech. And the last movie was enjoyable. It was a fun trip to the movies. But I have a funny feeling when I see it the second time, all the times that people just fire at him point blank and he pulls his blazer up over his face, that's going to become a little bit tiresome. And that's not how Kevlar works. Not that I'm going to burn the movie at the stake for that. But there were a few problems with the John Wick movie where the movie, while very entertaining and you leave the movie fulfilled, like it is a little messed up that the best scene in that movie was like a non-gunfight where Keanu and the bad guy face down at one of the Continental or the High Tables locations, and they play a weird game of like tarot cards for the conditions of the duel. And Keanu is just really good. It's like, it's like, I say we meet at dawn, and then like Keanu pulls the card and he's like, they're like, now we draw for weapons. He's like, he wins like the game of high card. And he's like, pistols. And I'm like, wow, that part was actually great. And then like the next part of the movie that I could really connect with was how cool the traffic action scene was. But aside from that, it was fulfilling, but it wasn't great.
I think they just need to recharge their batteries. And Ariel Ballet, wow, okay. First, wow. And my
got Atomic
reaction,
Blonde.
Wow.
They tried it. This has been tried. It's been out there for 35 years now. Sharon Stone might have been the first one announced to be.
Yeah, but my male brain is really digging what she's putting out there. I mean, we have to at least slow down and consider it because she writes they are gonna woman bond up.
Name.
Watch, it's gonna be a female bond while she gets with hot, sexy men only wearing thong bikinis,
or another chick,
or another
like.
Geez,
we kept everyone happy. James Bond is still a womanizer, and it's like, oh no. But here's the thing. I think that we could take what Ariel Ballet is saying both ways. And Ariel, hello to my friend Canadian Spider-Man. Check out his channel. I dropped the link in the chat.
Yes,
or I may need a wrench, guys. I don't know, but I just as far as the Jane Bond thing, if we gave her a completely different name, we've seen them try to hive off a female character twice. Check out the Halle Berry James Bond movie. 60% of that movie is setting up Jinx, and people just couldn't take it because that movie was not cohesive enough.
Yeah, well, I mean, they discussed it.
He was poorly served by the franchise.
Yes, I agree. For me, the movie Salt is still one of the best examples of that kind of film. And again, I thought Salt was a really good template for how the MCU should have made a Black Widow film.
I never saw the sequel to Salt. Is it any good? Were they able to keep it going? Oh God, that question must have been more ironic than I thought.
No, they never.
Right?
No. They talked about a sequel, but they were never able to get it. Yeah, they never went forward with it. But again, that's because the film.
Thank you,
wow,
Paulie.
Oh, geez, Paulie. Look, you the man. You know that, right, Paulie? Seriously, you
of course he knows it.
Because he goes on to any channel and he starts just doing what he does, and next thing you know, he's taking over your channel. I mean, the ladies love Paulie. Paulie,
take over my channel. My people need leadership. All they have is men. Help. Paulie, help.
And for Paulie, we have a thank you video.
that, you get the head, the tail, the whole damn thing.
Geez, how much for just a tip?
You know, let's also just consider one other thing with Bond. There have been a lot of books that have been written post Ian Fleming.
Yeah,
And
some of them are good.
Some of them are really good. My whole thing would be this. A lot of those books should definitely be considered. Okay. I think that you've had a lot of, well, not a lot. I keep saying a lot. That's not correct. You've had certain authors that have been allowed to write official Bond adventures. Not everyone is as good as what Ian Fleming put out there. But I think in the end, I think I personally believe that John Gardner's stuff is heads and shoulders above everyone else. The downside to adapting John Gardner is the fact that his version of Bond is actually Idris Elba's age. He's an older Bond. And if you're going to do that, you might as well just have Idris Elba. But, you know, as Gerry and I have said many a time, it would be better for EM Productions to go ahead and have a film Bond and then go ahead and do something on Amazon, since Amazon now owns the rights, and just do adapt all of the John Gardner books and hire Idris Elba to be that version of Bond and play out those stories, because I think Idris Elba would be phenomenal doing that. Those stories, again, for people who have never read those stories, it's basically, in my opinion, John Gardner writing Bond is kind of like getting Tom Clancy to write Bond. Except
he found his own voice for the character, but he found his own voice and still kept true to the character of James Bond.
Yeah.
And because of the time that passed, like for instance, like he does have books that might be as good as, say, the novel of Goldfinger, where the last 2 chapters, it's like, you remember the novel Goldfinger? The ending of the movie is actually better. That was an improvement. Like then he's held hostage for 5 days typing and manages to mail a letter on the sly to get to stop the plan. That's the book.
Mm-hmm. It's very cinematic. I think John Gardner's stuff is really cinematic, and all of his books are just amazing. But Icebreaker is my favorite. The torture scene in the dungeon in the third half of the novel is just, oh my goodness. I mean, woo. And again, if they ever made that and they hire Idris Elba, all I can say is, hey, Idris, you better get to the gym, buddy.
Yeah, that's why the question that follows to me is, let's say they sign this fine young man to be James Bond for 10 to 20 years, which, you know, we could only hope that his run would be that stable, because people be like, man, this is the Bond I remember. Would you accept Idris as his M? Because I would be like that. I think that would be a cool touch. It's like, we couldn't pull it off while he was young enough. We screwed up, but please accept our apologies. And maybe like we'll try to do like they did in the Daniel Craig movies. We'll have M get get in there a little bit once in a while. Like, especially in movie 1 at his youngest.
Here's something that a lot of people forgot. I wouldn't even do that. What I would do is I would bring in Idris Elba right now, and I would hire the everybody that worked on the John Wick movies.
Would you fire Bond's? Would you fire the Daniel Craig cast remainder? Would you bring back that strange group of people who don't know James Bond?
No. What I would do is I would hire Idris Elba and do another film to take place after the original movie, Action Jackson 2. That's what I would do with Idris Elba.
I'm down with that.
Oh,
yeah. That's what I would do.
aside from Prometheus, I like every Idris Elba movie. Which is that a good segue, Martin? Are we supposed to move to that yet?
Well, I'm just curious. So any black guy can play another black guy?
Yeah.
You, sir, are racist.
So we have to line up the path of oppression so it matches.
And we were so close to getting monetized this video.
Hey, Gary, how's it going, buddy?
It's going okay. Thought I'd stop in and say hi before I start my morning. Just woke up. I got a message, Teague, to tell him I'm up. Oh, he's already here.
Yeah, I appreciate you responding and stuff. We'll talk about that one later, but it's good to see you. And how you doing, man? What do you think about all this crazy news? Are we going to try to put an ownership group?
We're going to be talking about
Paramount?
all of this tomorrow on TGIF, which, if you guys remember, is the party that never ends for 2 hours.
Hey, just to let you know, I did talk you up yesterday.
What did you go on yesterday?
Will Abdul's
yeah,
show.
Casil messaged me about getting together.
Hey, cool.
Yeah, well, he messaged me before, and I really would like to hang out with him because we haven't hung out since all of us did that show together.
Mm-hmm. Well, he talked about when we were doing the show, he talked about how we'd all met and we all had Mikey in common, and he asked me to talk about our show, and I said it's the show with Gerry and myself. Gerry, the really talented.
Hard to wrangle me down. What the fuck does Gerry do?
Oh no, I told him you were the talented, thoughtful guy who came up with all the funny stuff. Tall, good looking, and I'm the guy that sort of.
Oh, you're only saying it because Anima's watching.
Keith and I are just failed Snoke clones. That we try to do our best.
Well, I'm a failed Snoke clone that's at least got a decent basically a decent outside shot game on the basketball court. But
gentlemen,
is
that
time? You know what?
Is that time?
It's that time. Yeah.
Yeah, and before I go, I'm gonna hop out of here. So the whole thing with this guy being cast, if it's true, and I don't doubt it. It's probably going to be the case. I think he's a good actor. I think he's a nice looking guy, and he's 33 years old, the perfect age. You and I talk about this, that they want that at least a 10-year window because he's 33. They got a little longer with him.
Yep,
exactly.
My problem is, I feel that Barbara Broccoli has betrayed her father and Saltzman with some of the shit she said. We need a more modern. And Christopher Nolan says that if he works on Bond, he wants to do a period Bond, which I would be fine.
Whoa,
if they reboot the whole thing, if they want to reboot this franchise, Christopher Nolan has a great idea of going back to the late 50s, early 60s during the Cold War.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be brilliant. And that's what I would do with this guy. But they're going to want to take away what makes James Bond, which is he was, a user of women.
Mm-hmm. Well,
they were just means to an end for him.
It's part of the reason why many actors want to take the part on. You get used to watching the Bond films. There's a certain way that things happen. And if you're Idris Elba or any of the other actors, if you're even Henry Cavill, it's not that you're trying to be the bad guy. You want to be Bond. You've grown up watching all of these other actors get the opportunity to play Bond in the whole. And now
exactly.
You
now they want to change it. They want to change it. And I don't get it. I don't see how they expect this to survive.
Well, it's hard for us Bond fans to really support it. I'm not saying I won't see it. I will see it. I'm just saying that if you really want to change the formula, you should almost call it a different character name. You should almost make him somebody slightly different. He can be 005 or something. But if you're going to make him 007, if you're going to make him James Bond, you can't.
it's dangerous, right? You know, you're copying a masterpiece, and if you make him too dark and jaded up front, then like you fast forward him too much. It's like having Wrath of Khan Kirk in season 1.
Teague, the one thing that's important is you've got to see and feel Bond, the essence of who Bond is, and if you take that away, it's just a failed copy, and they will fail if they try to change Bond too much.
Get him to drink soy.
So I'm going to get out of here, guys. I got shit I got to get done. Okay. Have a good show, and Martin, why don't you do your thing, and I'll get out of here.
Okie dokie.
Bye, guys.
See you after the ad.
Meet the Seattle Vigilante. Like so many comic heroes, this warrior hides his identity. But his identity isn't the only secret he has to keep. After grievous wounds received during combat, Tier 1 operator John Russell begins to recover and comes to terms with his new reality of being an amputee. And as he learns how to use his new prosthetic limb, he finds himself caught up in the bureaucratic red tape that too many wounded veterans experience, the exhausting medboard process. Out of sheer frustration, John takes it out on the criminal scum of the city. But when reality kicks in, John realizes he started something that's having an impact on the greater world around him, and thus has to reevaluate his motives. And moreover, just how far is John willing to go to finish this war he's declared against the criminals in Seattle? And will he even survive? From the creator of IDW's award-winning graphic novel Code Word Geronimo comes a new story about a different kind of warrior, Vindicated Inc., the first of its kind disabled veteran action hero comic. The Vindicated Inc. graphic novel crowdfunding campaign on fundmycomic.com is provided in the description of this video. We hope you become a contributor. Please share this link. Thank you.
Hey, and we're back.
And we are back. I got to tell you, every time I see that, I get more and more excited. I keep thinking, wow, you know, this is going to be a major reality. It's going to be something that somebody can just back and have in their hands and enjoy. And, oh, hey, thank you for backing this. Thank you so very much.
In an age where American comics are they're not even withering on the vine. We're planting gravid seeds that will never bear fruit, ever. It's grim. And people are, I mean, I'm not saying don't read the mangas. I mean, people love them. But in a time where American comics are in deep retrograde, this is where you could make some noise about a different kind of comic book and a different kind of superhero, a little more relatable, a little more down to earth, not really a costume superhero. And, you know, something that we can enjoy made in America by an American. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, why not have at this time we could make a conspicuously good American comic that, you know what, like I have faith that it could be as good or better than Isom 1. Absolutely have faith in that. I'm not saying don't buy Isom, check out that stuff, but I mean, if you look at Gerry's resume, he's brought it to the table again and again. So this is a comic to back, and you may remember that commercial from such shows as mine, where we show it. Thanks for not striking me on that, Martin.
Well, look, Hojo. First of all, he says, as a comic writer myself, a veteran, and a born Virginian, how could I not support Gerry? That's right. That's very true. And again, thank you for your service. Okay, thank you.
To quote Robert E. Lee from the great movie Gettysburg, there was always a high duty to Virginia.
You know, I think that's going to bring us to the next thing we're going to talk about.
I am the king of segments.
Thank you. By now, I would like to think that a lot of us have seen the trailer for the Acolyte. And a
teaser trailer. It just had nothing.
Oh, yeah, it's a teaser trailer, really. You're right.
And real quick, their stolen logo from Whitesnake that everyone has memed into a joke. But tell me that's not the '87 Whitesnake album cover. People Google Whitesnake album self-titled. It's the Acolyte poster.
Yeah. You know what? I never saw myself, even 10 years ago, being someone who would be a little disappointed in anything that had that Star Wars title. I don't know what to think about this, considering how much money's actually been spent, considering who's actually in charge.
110,000 downvotes on the trailer last time I checked. It was really getting ratioed bad.
That's not the way I choose to operate. I am trying to. I am a diehard Star Wars fan. Okay, I mean, May 1977. I went to the theater. I saw the movies. I've been down with it since then, and I gotta say, it doesn't bring me any joy to go in and watch a Star Wars film and not be entertained. I'm not reveling in any of this.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Baffled during TFA and then insulted really early on in The Last Jedi. It's never been the same. Solo annoyed me. I walked out.
Mm-hmm. I just, deep down, I would hope that this is good. But again, the thing about this particular project is that they're really going to try to push a lot of stuff that people have rejected in this film. And what I mean is, this is all set during the High Republic. No self-respecting Star Wars fan that I've ever known for any period of time wanted to read any of that stuff. The High Republic is a failed attempt.
You're a super fan if you know that stuff. Yes.
Yeah, it's basically Disney's current version of Star Wars.
The characters were, well, let's just say they rocked, right? I mean, we saw some dumb aliens in that stuff. The flying rock. It's not Dwayne Johnson, people. It was a rock.
Let me tell you something.
Martin knows Giardi. He served with him.
That freaking rock is the least of my problems.
Was it the fact that the rock piloted a starship called the Starship?
No. The fact that a Padawan falls into a precipice and stop their falling by sticking their lightsaber into the rocky wall, and the lightsaber just stay.
Oh, there. I hear what you're saying. Yeah, that's lightsaber all messed up.
They should have been continue falling, maybe decelerating a little the fall, like you see in the movies and the pirates when they use the sails with to slow down their falling with the swords. But no, the character just was just there hanging. So that's not how lightsabers work. But
no. Well, now they're harmless. Lightsabers are, when Hollywood sends us their lightsabers, they're not sending us their best anymore. That's you can just say that all day. I can just put that on like a soundboard for my show. It's really the lightsaber, not what it used to be. The idea that you'd even get stabbed with one like in the arm, unless they cut your arm right off, that's going to start your blood a-burling real quick, and you're just going to die from that, because the lightsaber used to be super lethal back when Order 66 was a successful military operation. But don't worry, guys. We now have a show called The Acolyte, where we have a 60-year-old Padawan. She looks great. Trinity still looks great, but she's the Acolyte. She's the Padawan. She's about 60?
Give or take. I mean, she still moves really well.
I don't think she's the Acolyte.
I watched that trailer.
She was born in 1967.
It's not a trailer. It's a teaser trailer. Is really what
It is
is.
absolutely a teaser trailer. 35 seconds of the 1 minute and 45 seconds is black screen or title screen. It's like a prawn movie that way.
Oh, I want this to be good. I really do. I know it sounds like I don't, but I really, really do. But I am.
You
having,
stay shy, right?
I'm just having a difficult time because of who's involved creatively. Yeah, what?
Do you want me to run the trailer without audio, because you know that audio is a poison of every.
Let's just run a little bit of the teaser, not the whole thing. I don't want to.
I don't fear the Jedi as you do. From my point of view, the trailer is evil.
Oh, let me take down the graphic. And no, it's got no audio, so we can talk over it.
Yeah.
Now we better.
I'm just look. I will give them this. They're not really using the volume. They had to build their sets. They filmed overseas. They filmed in England. But I will.
Everything is. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Everything is just shot without any. It's missing something, to watch these opening scenes right here. Aside from like this scene here, where you have, a little dark, some shadow, everything's the same. There's no vibrancy. There's no difference. Look, I'm trying not to be that guy. I really, really, really want to be excited about this. I'm just not finding it.
Before. We've been bitten hard by Kenobi, bitten very hard by Boba Fett, Book of Boba Fett, which is apparently written in a crayon. This is dark and murky, which is setting off like problems for all of us, I'm sure. And while we said she does appear to move real well, one, there seems to be a rule in place. There are 3 females on screen. Anytime there's one male, it's like they have to cancel out the toxicity. And it really, you notice it once you see it, you can't unsee it. And the other thing I would say is after we set up that you can't trust your eyes, don't use them. We see, so, that's how you use the Force, it's like, all right, nice little, callback. But then when we see someone later in the trailer using the Force, they're staring impassively and blankly straight into the camera. And it's like, this isn't kind of what you're at odds with yourself in your own trailer. And we've seen this trick before with the throwing the lightsabers. Now look at this. We have Jedi faction war, right? Color war out the way. We see one red lightsaber a couple of times, but it looks like we're going to have Jedi go up against Jedi and no one's going to be able to figure out who's who.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to fear here. And by the way, in that action scene, I counted 3 cuts in 1.5 seconds when the jump up and twirl and face down the person. And this is Star Wars where we have ranged weapons, but people choose to attack with, they want to throw it back like several 100,000 years in technology. They want to attack with what I'll call an analog knife for purposes of this conversation.
Mm-hmm. Again, this is 100 years before the prequel trilogy. So Yoda is still around. Chewbacca could possibly even make a cameo. But
true.
The thing is that this is all part of Kathleen Kennedy's plan to actually change Star Wars. Her thing is to introduce magic into Star Wars.
Wolverine 629 is right again. It's like, as far as diversity, we have like mostly humans. I know that the people at Lucasfilm who have to make Star Wars, they walk in there kicking themselves like, why couldn't we have come up with something as simple as the rubber ears for like, why can't we just have Vulcans and crank them out? Why do we have to do something this imaginative? Damn. It's like, it's done with scorn, and a lot of our aliens seem to just be CGI uploads. Like this trailer begins with a character that's basically a CGI upload. And we don't know how real that file of that depressed teddy bear looking creature is.
Yeah. Well, look, if they really wanted to work that angle out, they should just call Alex Kurtzman, because something tells me that he'll be needing a job real soon.
That
But
would be great, wouldn't it? I would love to see him at the unemployment office. There was a time, ladies and gentlemen, where if you were bad at your job or your job became obsolete, you would have to find new work. Everyone named Cooper or Fletcher knows exactly what I mean. If your last name is Cooper, like somewhere back in the past, somebody made wooden barrels. Very, very lucrative until the invention of the 55-gallon drums, right? If your last name's Fletcher, you used to make arrows. Very, very, very lucrative. If you were, in a world before, the prevalence of the gun, and even thereafter, like it was a skill up until I don't know, the beginning of the 18th century. But for a long time there, the first ranged weapon aside from the spear, I think number 2 is the good old bow and arrow. So if you were a Fletcher, if you don't work making arrows, you have had to be moved on. So why this doesn't happen in Hollywood, I don't know. Like there's one day they're gonna be like, oh, he's an Abrams. Many years ago, people named Abrams for the entertainment industry, but they weren't entertaining, so they're gone. And Shinatsky's here. Hello, Shinatsky.
Shinatsky, you have a point. You do have a point. The Acolyte is not Star Wars. It's a period piece. Ha ha ha.
Is it? Oh, that's about the poster. Yeah, and it also looks like the self-titled 1987 Whitesnake album to a litigious fault. It's very close. The cracks in the concrete even line up, or the cracks in the marble. I'm sorry, even line up.
In the end, I'll have to see a real trailer. I hope that they can figure out a way of somehow getting me to the point where I'm at least curious to actually want to sit down and watch this, because as of right now, as a Tealer trailer, it's not done anything for me. That also leads me now to another trailer for Alien Romulus.
Can I make the uncomfortable joke on behalf of Gerry first?
Go ahead.
After you know what? I forgot. I should write it down next time. But I do want to say that you were right about that trailer, though. As far as it is inaugurable, and what Shinatsky says, right too. Like this, you can feel free to disregard this from Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I think the only thing I would say is we didn't use the joke, but John Meredith Lucas is still cool, right? We'll use the joke now. So anybody who's upset about George Lucas, just think John Meredith Lucas, his honor is still intact.
Yeah. Let's see. Hojo, I thought the Beetlejuice 2 trailer was supposed to drop yesterday. All I can find are fakes. Look,
maybe it dropped yesterday, California time, real early, and if it's
no, it would be easier to find. Look, I'm just happy we got pictures. Okay, I'm happy we got pictures. I'm happy that everybody seems to be. I mean, that at least Michael Keaton seems to be very excited about the film. That's great. Looks like Tim Burton's very excited for what he's made thus far. Great.
Right. Signs are positive. We got Winona coming back, right? Like this looks like it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm more excited about that than Alien Romulus for sure.
Yeah. Well, now here's my thing with Alien Romulus.
Since
I don't mind it as much.
Know what the hell's going on.
I don't mind it as much because it's meant to be a story that takes place between alien and aliens. So
we're not a part of this.
No, I
these creatures are completely savage and have no society whatsoever, unless it's like the society of an anti.
They're parasites.
We see two of them kill a third one so that they can burn through the floor of the cell they're in the is it the fourth movie, the one with Winona Ryder?
Mm-hmm. The one that was written by Joss Whedon and had a lot of changes and other things done to it.
That explains it, because that movie, like, there's a kernel of a good movie in there. And when they put the aliens in the water, and we see the xenomorph swimming from the neck like an iguana, that was great, but I don't know if it was worth a whole movie to see that. There's some stuff in that I really don't like, although like there's great people in it, like Brad Dourif.
Yeah.
And Nick
Yeah.
Tortelli. I'm trying to remember his real name from Cheers.
I don't mind Alien 4. It's just different. That's all. And
I don't mind it. What they find out, their little rug pull there, and what they're doing with Ripley's DNA was interesting enough. It's just the movie does lose its way. I don't mind. It's not a terrible movie. It's fine. You won't feel robbed of your time. But as we cruise into Alien Romulus, have we done anything since Prometheus? I know Noomi Rapace.
Yeah,
Rapace just said she wouldn't do anymore. And is there a forgotten movie between Prometheus and this that I'm unaware of? Because I was so turned off by the middle of Prometheus, thinking that this was the stupidest, most needless movie ever.
I don't know.
It stops making. It's like a Talking Heads movie. It stops making sense.
I want to give this movie a chance. I do. I want to give this movie a chance. It's a young cast. I agree with my other brother. I agree with my brother that one of the things that's a little off about this film is how young everyone is and how good looking they are, which is kind of almost the opposite of the first film. The thing about it, yeah, go ahead.
Here's the thing. This is again a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to see who is the director, Fede Alvarez, and it is his first directing job, but he has written, get it, Evil Dead, the first reboot, Don't Breathe Through, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, among others. So what? His area of expertise are slasher movies.
Yeah,
that is why this is like Alien in Friday the 13th. That is why the cast is so young.
Okay. You know what? When you put it like that, Martin, I think I'm ready for it. I'm ready to buy the popcorn, ready to buy the ticket.
No,
if this movie is like that and only 90 minutes, I'll go. But if it's 2.5 more hours of a failed lecture from Ridley Scott, I don't want any part of this movie until it's on rental. The first 10 minutes of Prometheus seem profound, and then like for the whole rest of the movie, you're like, wow, this is getting dumber, and it doesn't hold together. Like it's like a failed version of 2010. It's like really thinky and really throwing back to other
Ridley
movies.
is listed just as a producer, which to me, what I read in that is the studio say, "Oh, we have to have this guy because he invented the creatures and the franchise." But you have no saying here. We'll just use your name.
The Guy Pearce storyline was so incredibly, terribly, stupidly bad. The only glimmer of a hope for that movie was like, is Charlize an alien, a replicant? And that question was sort of nullified by her saying like, it's a fucking horror story, I'm not going back to that movie. Or she had no interest in reprising any kind of alien role. If they lower the stakes, like you said, and this movie is only 90 minutes, shut up and take my money. But if it's 2.5 hours, of like explaining why this movie made sense, I can't take it.
This looks like a strictly horror movie, and a horror movie you cannot go with a feature that long.
Yeah,
it doesn't work.
And you have to not harm the alien, but that might be easy to do if the alien just pops up and deletes people left and right. That you have a chance here to have just a slasher movie with the bad guy as the alien, where it's just an alien movie almost by proxy. So I would think that unless you did something stupid, like have them like fly or become their own alien justice society where they take over the earth, and like, I don't know, like it would be hard to mess up if you kept the stakes to the characters there and kept them like the aliens that we knew.
I will say this. It looks good. Now, is it on the same level as what Ridley Scott and his people did? No, because Ridley paints with his images. This is just. I agree, Martin. This is really looking more and more like a slasher film with just a bunch of young people.
I feel Event Horizon vibes when they're walking down that long hallway with the flickering lights. I was like, when's Sam Neill gonna, come floating up to them?
I mean, again, this is more of a teaser. I don't think it's a real trailer because you get no sense of the actual story. I mean, it's easy to say, well, they pick up a bunch of aliens, attack, and blah blah blah. It'd be nice to get a sense of what the story is.
You're right. Because from what we saw one bio bed, if that's what they're called, where people do the hibernation, and that thing had already exploded and like someone had blown up 4 bottles of ketchup inside. So it's possible that they're going to drop us in like a Bond movie and not re-origin the alien, which, you know what? Thank you if you don't do that. Like, I don't need another origin tale for the aliens, and we've really messed that up, and I don't want to hear about the engineers ever again. But just, like, we don't know what these things are. Holy shit. And it's like they never make contact with Earth, so that this won't affect the larger alien universe. It could be done.
Yes, it can. I need to see an actual trailer, but I'm not gonna dismiss the whole thing out of hand. So
I recommend cold open, like as we just said. Like if we just have a ship, we wake up in one bio bed, like someone's burst like a bottle of ketchup, and they're like, what's going on? And then slowly the alien starts to take preeminence in the movie. That would be awesome. It could work for 90 minutes without hurting the aliens. It's more important here to get out of this without hurting the franchise, because we've done some damage here.
Yeah.
Gap, I'm gonna need more context. What did I say that you find reprehensible?
Which type of alien are we speaking of? Earthly terrestrial aliens or aliens from another world?
Well, it's I can't speak to it. I just look. I'm any opportunity to see another film in this particular.
Wait. I think it's this. Gap. Just the first one was a horror movie. Just the first one.
Yeah, the second one might be called an action movie for sure.
Was strictly action. The third one was psychological.
It was a mix of horror and action. Yeah, with a suspense edge. I agree. The fourth one was confused as hell.
Yeah,
Confusion reigned. It was a David Lynch movie that was it was basically a David Lynch movie made by mistake into a David Lynch movie. Like, it made about as much sense as Twin Peaks at the end. It's like, I kind of understand why they'd be messing with Ripley's DNA, but the way we bring back Ripley and the Ripley we have, and like, have we rebuilt this boat so much it's no longer the same boat? Whatever that analogy comes to mind. Shortcutting the Gordian knot, whatever you want to call it. But the trailer's not disqualifying. That's the exciting part, is we have an Aliens trailer that does not because right away, like, I would say if we rewind about 1 year, we were seeing trailers that disqualified immediately. It's going to be about how humanity ruined Earth with climate change, and we're looking for another colony. So it's a colonoscopy. We're going to go exploring in a dark place for possible, life and mutations. I mean, it could be, but right now the trailer has not disqualified itself, and for the moment, I'm excited to see more about this. I don't know.
Yeah,
what do you think, Keith? That's
I agree. I'm excited. I want to give them a chance. I want to give Mr. Alvarez a chance, and we'll see what they got going on. And I didn't catch when this is coming out. Let's see.
Every movie seems to be 2 years away right now. No one wants to. Everything I see about every movie is just like, yeah, well, we're working on Captain America since 2023, and you'll get it in January of 27. It's like, what are you talking about?
I have something very controversial to say about that film. Unless things really change, I can. Okay, August 15th. Thank you. I would not be surprised if they just decided to scrap that movie.
Take the Humongous's proposition from Road Warrior. Just walk away. I will be merciful. Do it.
I think at this point, so many things have gone wrong You're not able to get a decent script out of any of this. And again, let me just say, compared to like even just 6 years ago, a lot of these problems just, I mean, they didn't have these kinds of problems. This is about your leadership. This is about Kevin Feige. If you're having these kinds of problems trying to get these movies to work without blowing whatever budget that you have, I mean, this is your job. Okay.
Here.
You did it before, and now you act like it's like a massive effort just to not, it's a massive effort to take what little you've been given and not try to spend a penny more.
Well, in a modern writer's room, we've got to like remember, like in a modern writer's room, one, we're herding cats, and two, no one has the pragmatism. I know Gene Roddenberry had an ego, but he had a functioning intellect and ego. Like, he was collaborative. Like, they're like, we're not going to make a model where the saucer section pops off your ship and lands on the planet for this Star Trek 66 show that we're talking about here. He's like, no problem, I'll invent something else. It's like, you're not, you're not a one-man army, Gene. Get some more writers. Like, no problem. I'll give my secretary the keys to write a few episodes, and I'll hire some people. And he was able to be collaborative to that point. Modern writers, we're talking about fits. We're talking about bot swarms on the maker's account. No one goes quietly, and they'll find a way to cast whatever you say to them politically. So it's just like, this movie could be killed by committee.
Everything's being done by committee, and that's the thing. Technically, once you get to the point where you've decided on a script and you've decided on a director, the rest of this should go a certain direction. There really shouldn't be that many surprises.
Right. There's 100 years of Hollywood where we did that, and things worked out more or less the way we expected most of the time. So yeah, absolutely.
I just think that this continued. How am I trying to put this? If you are going to be the one making the big bucks and being in control, that means you should also be the one to take full responsibility when things don't work out well. And I think Kevin Feige should be called to the carpet for the fact that a lot of money has been wasted. Because the amount of money spent versus the amount of money that has been wasted in so much as that you had a project, you started working on a project, and you have to go back and refilm things. In certain instances, it's always added in that you are going to have to do some pickup shots. But when those pickup shots, instead of just shooting for like an extra couple of weeks, when you're getting
longer than it takes to make a movie. 6 weeks is usually 6 weeks of shooting. This was what, 6 weeks, and then they came back and they were doing it was like 18 weeks or 20 weeks, and we had stories from the set of Anthony. Is it Anthony Mackie said, can we even do anything? Why the hell are we here? And to him, I say bravo for saying it like it is.
Well,
and
he's not the only one. He's not the only one. They're having a hard time making a Blade movie. Are you kidding
he said
me?
A cast member the other day. He said he was lost in post. They didn't even do reshoots. They just poured him out of the movie. Let me ask you a question. If you're Disney at this point, right? Don't reshoots need to be absolutely secret? Because your stock starts to tickle down every time people hear, for a tentpole movie being like remade from the bottom up. It's like, yep, we had a rotten foundation. We're just moving like kind of next door, and we'll only share some of the footprint of this property that we did.
It's hard to keep a secret when you're involved with a company that at any time will decide to get rid of people if they don't use the right pronouns, if they don't think the right way, vote the right way, if they're not willing to write stories a particular way. Look, it wasn't like you could truly keep a secret anyway, but I'm telling you right now, it's 2024, okay? You got to figure this out, Kevin Feige, because I know it's easy to lay it off on other people, but you are the one in charge, okay? You are the one that needs to figure this out. And if you're still having, problems trying to figure a way of not taking a budget of 150 and not ballooning that thing to over $200 million, you need to get this handled yesterday.
Okay, you need to be fired. You need to be fired. I feel, it's.
I mean, you've made a lot of money. You've made a lot of money.
You're in from the ground floor. He's here since day one with this universe.
Yeah, you made us a lot of money, and that's great. But you're costing us a lot of money now. Okay,
what have you done for us lately?
And you need to get your act together or find something else to do, because right now, at this point, a lot of the talented people that you started out with aren't here anymore. You're dealing with a lot of people that you just sort of picked up along the way. And here's the thing. Unlike how you began, when you had somebody technically telling you a few things to do, we've allowed you to do whatever you want after Endgame. You have been in full control over everything. And all we've had are problems.
By the way, quick shout out. There are 8 of you watching over on Rumble, and we deeply appreciate it. If you want, use some of those emojis in there. It seems like there is no way to really alert people that the Rumble stream is going on. It's a little bit fickle. We're down to the end of the show, but if anyone wants to tweet out the stream, that's about the only thing Rumble will let you do to help us out. And just, a few emojis in there, because that seems to activate their front page to a degree. But Rumble, we love the freedom of speech. Anybody like the engagement model on Rumble? Maybe not so much, right?
Yep. Well said.
They're not new. They're not new. They're from 2012. So that's not an excuse. That is now a smokescreen. And if freedom of speech comes from a high value New York City stock trading fund, the owners of Rumble are Cantor Fitzgerald. Okay, get it together, Cantor Fitzgerald.
You know what? That leads us into our final trailer.
That's right. Admiral Tegway has made another great segue.
1943 Rise of Hydra. That is a brand new video game, which is I will say the look of it is interesting. But
Peggy Carter's not repulsive. That's interesting right away. Very
well.
different.
That's not Peggy Carter.
No.
Okay, but their female's not repulsive. That's something we, the new Lara Croft where they messed up her face as well as other stuff.
Yeah.
The changes in that seems spiteful, honestly.
However, when you run the trailer, when you see the trailer, you will notice that Cap is a little under his weight category.
Yeah.
That
is a very emaciated Cap.
Mm-hmm.
It looks better in the poster.
He needs to fix up with a little more super soldier serum. Just get into the bathroom with a spoon and a lighter, and he'll be okay in a couple of minutes.
Here's the thing. I can understand that you're wanting to create a video game that is very, as they say, inclusive, and that's fine. But if we're really gonna do that, wouldn't it have been better to try to create something that's kind of, this seems to be trying to mix.
Look at him. Look at those shoulders. What the hell?
Yeah. This seems to be trying to mix the
Come
MCU.
on, no one feels good that they could kick Captain America's ass. I'm feeling better about myself.
This seems like they're trying to mix the MCU with the comics a little. And that's fine. But if you're going to do that, why not just mix in a few more characters that were actually a part of the comics during this time period?
That makes for instance, me afraid. Is they going to ruin these characters?
Well, look. As of right now, I mean, does anybody actually watching this show believe that the MCU is better than it was 4 years ago?
Oh no!
Seriously?
Oh, wow! Is that a trick question?
It's been a long time because it might actually be 5 years. It hasn't been the same since Endgame, but the death blow came. The Dealey Plaza 3 lone gunman magic bullet JFK event for these people was episode 1 of Loki, where they absolutely destroy the Avengers movie, and so badly so that they have to rewind the entire Loki show in season 2. Season 2 of Loki ends with the first 5 minutes of Loki, and then an ending grafted on where we assume some other stuff happened, where he ends up in charge of time, and we don't know where we're going to go from there.
Look at Captain that body.
I could take on the new Han Solo, Alden Ehrenreich, and this Captain America at the same time. I would lose, but it would go on for a while. I would do much better than I should. These guys are not very inspirational. What next? Timothy Chalamet as Superman? I mean, this is crazy. You know they want that. Like in Hollywood,
Timothy Chalamet would be Bane.
I think in Hollywood they're like, Timothy Chalamet has fans, and you know what? Superman's physical girth is not relative to his strength. If we put that out there, like, we can start the fans fighting each other. We'll call people some divisive names. Make some mean acronyms right now.
You know, I don't know.
Black Panther's great grandfather here?
Yeah,
something like that.
I didn't know Wakanda won World War II. They kept that out of the history books.
Look,
they kept out a lot of things out of the history book.
I look at it this way: you could have easily have made this where Black Panther was a part of it. I see no problem with that. But if you're going to add in other characters, what they could have done was add in the Wizard. Now, from the silence here, obviously a lot of you guys don't know who the Wizard is. The Wizard was
we're not talking
Marvel's
the Batman villain, right, from 1948, because that was a great wizard. Loved him.
Not Wizard, Wizard.
Oh, I have one of those for when I have to go to my parole officers.
Oh my God!
The Wizard was really Marvel's attempt at creating the Flash, and that's another character that you could have placed in there. Of course, there's the original Human Torch. You could have also had Prince Namor. You could have also had.
He needs redemption. He's on the absolutely horrible guy list, right?
Something like that. But there's also Union Jack. You could have put Union Jack in there. You could have put.
I'm sorry, Cap. After Dark is slaying me with these comments.
What's he saying?
Well, I think the Timothy Chalamet as Supergirl.
Oh yeah.
By the way, I'm not. Here's one thing you won't hear me saying: Timothy Chalamet continues the tradition of great New York actors. I like him at all, but I don't hate him. But I'm not disowning him as a New York actor. I'm just saying he's not a great one yet. Like when Leonardo DiCaprio of California is a more prominent New York actor than you are. You got some work to do, buddy. You got to maybe get that accent back.
Wow. I just think that there are characters that you could bring in. You have Spitfire is another one. Really, if you just went and you could have called this game The Invaders, and then you could have added Black Panther to that. That would have given you all the characters you would have needed to play a proper World War II era Marvel game. And especially if it's The Invaders. I don't know. You know,
right? To be fair, there are great World War II games out there that people are slavishly addicted to and love and extol the virtues of. So this one, it better be able to have some shooting and hopefully open world play. I don't know what their plans are.
It just looks like it looks like we've had to get a little DEI on this one, and rather than
DIA, please.
Oh, okay.
Now we did our DEI. We parachuted Gerry in to represent full-on white people. he was our representation for that.
I just think that with Union Jack and Spitfire, and Namor and Human Torch, I mean, you would have been able to have something, and having Black Panther be a part of it with Captain America, you have yourself a game that could actually just be amazing. But they decided not to go that direction, you know. And again, this is one more example of how both the MCU and really Marvel overall have dropped the ball. You know, this has been one of my complaints for a little while now. There is absolutely no reason to be having any of these problems. Marvel has an incredible catalog of characters, and for whatever reason, they keep acting like they don't. Like, you know, the way they act, it's like, oh, we only have very few characters to use, and so we're not going to use everybody. We'll just use a few people. That Wonder Man series, I know somebody told me that they are planning on using the character of Luke Cage, but I've heard nothing. There's been nothing about Luke Cage. Nothing. You've gone out and you've decided to poach one of the major Warner Brothers talents, Yahya Abdul-Mateen, and you brought him in to the MCU. Instead of casting him as Wonder Man, what you should have done is made him the new Luke Cage.
I do love when Doomcock sings "A la la boo boo," but what was the guy's name again? I couldn't make any. Oh, that was syllabic. You know what? Like, you have to come up like if that was me, I'd be like, you know, like put Dave in front of it. You know, like humanize it for people. Like,
Yahya Abdul-Mateen is the person who was in Aquaman and Aquaman.
Sorry.
Aquaman and Aquaman 2. And
Okay.
he's a good actor. He's a really good actor. I like him. He was also in let's see, he was in the Watchmen limited series that they had.
Oh, he was Dr. Manhattan, right?
Yes, he was the new version of Dr. Manhattan in that. Well,
he was Dr. Williamsburg, slightly different part of New York.
Oh wow! You kill me sometimes. Anyway, let's see. Yeah, he's actually been in. He's an actor that's been a part of quite a few things, and I would have gone ahead and just made him the new Luke Cage, you know, because look, he did a great job as Black Manta. He's definitely got range. I would go ahead and just like cast him as the new Luke Cage and go from there. He's got no problems shaving his head. He's in really, really good shape. And for those of you that at least watched the first Aquaman film or watched him in the Watchmen miniseries, yeah, he could definitely do it. But Wonder Man, I mean, why do you have to go all the way to do Wonder Man? You know, Luke Cage should already be a part of whatever you're doing. I mean, you've gone and gotten Daredevil. By the time you get to Daredevil, they introduced the Punisher in season 2 of Daredevil, which means that by their own count, Luke Cage technically and legally could have already been introduced into the MCU because they had to wait a certain amount of time. So they have Daredevil, they could have had Jessica Jones, and they could have had Luke Cage by now. No one's seen hide nor hair of Jessica Jones. No one's seen Luke Cage. You might as well just go ahead and recast, because that's technically what they were going to do with Karen and Foggy. They were basically going to get rid of those characters. And then they had to bring them back because, kind of that whole messing up the writing thing. I really don't understand what Kevin Feige is really trying to do here. It's a lot of wasted moves, wasted money, wasted time, doing dumb stuff. Get your head in the game, Kevin.
It's almost like reminiscent of that scene in Hunt for Red October where they're diving and he's like, engage the caterpillar drive. And then they start to sing the theme song of our Cold War enemies, the Internationale, I believe it's called, right? They do, and he's like, and Satan leans in and says to James Bond, Captain, we are making noise. And he's like, let them sing. That is exactly where we are right now. We've got a bunch of communists, and like commie number one is trying to sabotage this. We got different agendas going on here. Although Damian Thorne and James Bond are on the same page, there's a whole bunch of other people on the ship, including Tim Curry, who Frankenfooter is just a jerk to everybody, but he slips on tea. But that's where we're at here with this. We might have sabotage, and we might be dealing with a bunch of commies, in my opinion.
Maybe.
Admiral T-Gun corks a wild take at the end of the show.
All I know is I'm looking at this, and it's a good thing I'm not a shareholder, because if I were, I would be livid at this point. I see a bunch of people who are getting paid a lot of money to basically just screw up. Again, I like Kevin Feige. I've never met the man. I, like everyone else, was really impressed with everything he was able to accomplish phases 1, 2, and 3. But it just seems like since the start of phase 4, since Black Widow, everything he's touched has turned to brown 25. And there's absolutely no reason for a lot of this,
Oh, I'm glad I didn't mute my mic for that inside joke. Everybody, if you get it, I think was it brown 24 or brown 25. If you put brown 2, you will get the little autocomplete. Just go Kentucky Fried Movie, right? Is that right on the reference?
Yes.
And that same movie heavily features what's his name? Munch
Belzer?
from SVU, and Richard Belzer, and I believe, did we ever figure this one out? He might be Arthur Fonzarelli's cousin in real life. He might be Henry.
Yeah, they are related.
There's a resemblance. Once you hear it, you're like, wow, that doesn't shock me. Sometimes it's who you think it would be.
And Shinovsky, as far as George Lucas goes, here's my thing. Okay, the man is 79 years old. At some point, I just think he's done. He's raised 3 kids who are not interested in the family business. He's married
because they came of age under the Disney storytelling era.
I couldn't tell you why. But
it's like Mick Jones's kid thought he was a bad musician, right?
No, they were uninterested even before Disney. In fact, that was one of the things that Iger manipulated George with.
Yeah, and I think I don't think it was just Iger. Again, his wife, very smart lady, very accomplished woman. She's only what?
She'll be 30 this month. No, she's like, she's in her mid. Yeah, I was gonna say
she's 55
or
she's
early
55.
50s. She looks fantastic for her age. I don't know if she's independently qualified to be on that board. Like seriously, you're married to one of the richest, most influential men in America. Maybe by proxy, you know about money.
Actually, she does. She was
does?
independently. Okay. She was independently wealthy before she met him. She did not marry him for his money.
George Lucas but
it didn't hurt.
It did not hurt.
Marsha Lucas was also someone who had talent outside of just being his wife. She was really good at editing. She was a really good film editor.
Yes. But here's the thing. He also has a child with Melody, his current wife.
His other children are adopted, which I champion as an adopted person, right? Doesn't he? Or his other 2 kids are adopted? Yes.
No. His 3 older kids. He's got 3 kids. He's got 2 daughters and a boy. And then he was a bachelor for a while. And then
on behalf of all orphans, thank you, George.
Yeah, George is, again, he decided to raise 3 kids on his own. Kind of helps when you have a lot of money, but it's still a lot of work.
I got several au pairs and a droid for each kid.
I just think that I think he had reached a point where he was just done. Now, the thing that really makes people like me just sort of sit here and say, about George is all of his outbursts and all of the times that he...
Wait, I have a surprise for all of you.
Okay.
Maybe it's not a good one, but there it is. We have Shanatsky.
Oh, hello, Shanatsky.
Hey, I'm off today. I just woke up.
Hello, Shanatsky. Hello, Shanatsky. Hello, I am Sauron.
I will just say this. I think it is possible that he looks at everything and he just says, screw it. He's not fighting for it anymore. He's done. He's done everything he's wanted to accomplish. He's in no big hurry to do anything other than just live the rest of his life. And it's by now, he's already, I think, a grandfather too. So, he's good. He's good.
He's looking to buy a few more rare cars. The only thing he wants to do with the rest of his life now is go out into his $50 million garage complex with $1 billion worth of cars. And it's like, I think I'll work on the Shelby Cobra today. I don't want to go too far.
Yeah.
And just that's all he wants. And 90 minutes later, he's like, okay, I feel like I've got something done today. And just go read the paper. He's an old guy now. You're right.
Yeah. Look, he's a guy who is very lucky. He could have died in that car accident.
A couple of ways, right?
In the car accident when he was younger.
Chronic illness.
Yes, he had illness, the car accident. And for those that have never seen a picture of it, Google George Lucas car accident in his teens. Personally, looking at that picture, I'm amazed that he survived.
Only Kylo Ren survived a bigger wreck up.
But
not to make light of it. I don't think anyone but George was hurt, though, right? Was he just speeding?
I have no idea the exact circumstances. All I know is I've seen that picture several times. That you can't tell where that car ends and the tree begins.
And guys on Rumble, thanks for holding steady. It's really appreciated. We love you too. It was extra effort for you to get here, but you came to the right place.
Given everything, the what it comes down to is it's very simple. I said this in the chat before. Ultimately, George Lucas is not a creative who was a businessman. George Lucas at his core is a businessman who was creative.
Yeah. He never hid how he did what he did and why he did what he did. He just did it. And I think that ultimately, the thing that he was not happy with was the fact that they never really treated him. It's not so much about respect, but it was about the fact that he had an idea and that they just weren't interested in it. And again, this is all detailed in Bob Iger's book, Ride of a Lifetime, where he had to tell George exactly, after a while, after they got everything they wanted from him, and then inform him that they weren't going to use his ideas. And again, I will say to people, I don't care what you thought of George Lucas from before. Given everything we've seen these last few years, if he wanted to have Star Wars be about midichlorians and the freaky things that they can do, I would rather have that than what we've gotten up to this point. Because a lot of that stuff just, you can say what you want about the guy.
Wait. Don't you like Snoke?
We're felled Snoke clones. We are very pro Snoke because if we underperform, Gerry will have us turned into Snoke soup, the only form of food on that weird planet from Cross.
If you really want me to be out there with the whole thing, I've read the stuff that George Lucas wanted to do. Does it sound a little hippie and weird to me? Yes. But again, I look at Last Jedi, I look at Rise of Palpatine, and I go, you know what? I'd rather take the hippy dippy stuff from George because he is the creator. I mean, you got to give him that.
Yeah, no, the story looked bad, but at least it would have been interesting with well-rendered aliens. We would not be celebrating it, but we wouldn't be like, oh, like, and there wouldn't be a need for damage control.
And if it had really cost as much as what those two films have cost, as far as the damage to the brand and the fans, George would have just said, you know what? I guess it's me, and he would have been out. He would have accepted it and walked away. And a lot of fans would have accepted it and either waited a little bit or walked away themselves. No harm, no foul. But because Kathleen and her people decided to just do what they did, now. Because now we've gotten cheated. And by a bunch of people who weren't that creative in the first place. And again.
Right, which is why the damage control is like, you could see them making concessions and failing to deliver on it methodically. Yes. They are bad at everything.
It's a lot of failure. Left, right, and center. And that's the thing. Everything, when you're talking about Lucasfilm, was the gold standard for years. Disney was the gold standard. They have fleshed all that stuff out. And they just act like they don't care. Pixar, they don't care. They don't. You can't even convince me that they care. They don't care.
Because it's not about the money.
That's right. It's about sending a message. Again, one of 2 Academy Awards that the DC characters have got versus the MCU and Marvel, which what? That's right, goose egg. Egg.
That's the thing, though. I think that given George's, hippy dippy politics, I think he's backing one side purely because of their politics.
Purely. And again, he's probably been told, you don't want to upset everything. It might affect and that's fine. I get it. He's an older man now. He's thinking about the life he's got left. I don't blame him one bit. So let me at least congratulate, Bob and Kathy and everyone else. You've managed, at least in my mind, to take George completely off the hook. But the rest of you SOBs need to understand that you have completely botched it. And no matter how you try to change anything from here on out, this will be taught in business courses and creative courses of how not to do what you guys have done. You guys have given a master class in how not to run anything.
But that doesn't matter.
Is it really? I'm sorry, Shanofsky. I apologize. Just really quickly, it is a master class also and how to run a Ponzi scheme.
Oh, geez, God, yes.
Well, yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter. You know why? They all got their money. They got to put their bullshit out. They got their money. They won. Everyone else lost.
Yep.
So say we all.
The suckers. The shareholders, the suckers. Who they don't give a fuck. This is my problem with all the lefties. They just go in and they take things and they take things and they take it over and then they haul it out and they destroy it and they get paid. So look, they win.
Well, in the words of Alejandro Jones, there are real tornadoes too. I don't want to say anything too controversial, but I think that to get this bad, we can't take any one leading cause. It was we made a perfect storm, and then the real thing is, how was this perfect storm perpetuated for so long with chaos, takeovers and everything else going on. Like, we have been in a long period where we've had a drought of quality, real drought. I mean, you know what counts for storytelling since about 2018, Keith? Tell me I'm wrong. We're going to put the guy in the suit and have him do the thing, and that will be the movie. We'll have him do it at the end. And like, if once they complain, we'll just be like, we'll demonize the fans and say the guy in the suit did the thing. What's your problem?
Hey, that's a perfect way to end the show. Let me just say this. If you are Bob Iger, if you are Bob Backish, who runs CBS, let me just say this. There is a reason you got your arse handed to you by Godzilla -1 winning an Academy Award.
Ooh, I got a video for that. May I?
Do it.
Go ahead.
The problem with Hollywood is they make shit. Unbelievable, unremarkable shit.
The Godzilla people were the most fun people to accept awards that night too. They brought up little Godzillas.
Yes, they're fans. They are. These are not people that had any kind of agenda. They were just fans that wanted to make a movie, and they did it, and the world embraced them for it. And guess what? Here's the amazing part: they didn't spend that much money to do it.
No, and there should have been a Godzilla contingency, because I want to take my hat off to the makers of Godzilla for trying their very, very best and doing an okay job of communicating with us in our language. They spoke English off a piece of paper, but they did their best. They sent their real people, not someone to rep for him. It was not a PR guy. He spoke from his heart, and I felt it was heartless and unfair for the Academy to play them off in standard time. There should have been a Godzilla precondition, because, you know, maybe they can negotiate that in the future. I wanted to hear the last 1 minute of what that guy had to say.
Yeah, me too.
It was being charming. It's being charming. I like them.
What it comes down to is a very simple thing. You can't make the things for the culture if you hate the culture.
There you
and
go.
All these people hate society as
fun.
it is. They view it as sexist, oppressive, everything else. They despise it. The only thing they know how to do and been trained to do is to subvert things. But they can't make anything, especially for the culture, because they despise the culture.
It's time for the Tolkien quote, Chinatsky. Do you want to do it, or shall I?
What? Evil
cannot
create.
You take
only
it, buddy.
pervert or destroy.
Yeah, I thought it was corrupt, but yeah, I think we get that line a few times. But yeah,
that's how
the problem.
That's how we'll end the show. So let me take this opportunity to thank Gap After Dark, Shinosky, especially now that you're here, Hojo, Cam's Crash Courses, Latino Slant Polly, Ariel Ballet, Monkey, Chivas, Radioactive, Andy Morrow, D, Bud Martin, Wolverine, 626, Penny, the lovely Penny, Dragon Ruse, Lady Anima Confusa, because I know she doesn't like it when I say that, but you know, you're awesome, you know it. And of course, the main man himself, Mr. Gerry Cassell, who dropped in to just say hi. Hi. And of course, all of you who have decided to stick around this long and listen to basically these fine gentlemen pontificate while I just sort of goof off. So, I want to thank everyone for giving us just a little bit of your time, and I hope to see you back here next week. I'm Keith. See you next time.
Hasta la vista.
Bye, everybody.